Welcome back to Wellness Lenses. Today, we'll take an eye-opening exploration of the complicated world of clutter as a trauma response, particularly in the aftermath of narcissistic abuse. You might find the key to healing here if you've ever felt like your life was too much of a mess, both physically and emotionally. Let's start with this simple truth. Clutter isn't always just a messy room. We're going to break down the idea of clutter as a trauma response after narcissistic abuse today, because it can be a silent manifestation of the psychological warfare within the mind or a visible aftermath of clutter. In the aftermath of abuse, clutter serves as a silent witness to the intricate interactions between the mental struggles and the outward signs of emotional turmoil. If you can, picture walking into a cluttered area, such as a room full of things that don't seem to go together or make sense. In this situation, clutter isn't just a collection of lost things. It's a physical representation of the chaos that has taken over a person's psyche. Internal battles against feelings of unworthiness, confusion, and the lingering effects of manipulation are mirrored in the disorder. There is a narrative of survival beneath the apparent disorganization, in the overwhelming aftermath of narcissistic abuse. The mind naturally seeks a shield to protect itself from the memories, emotions, and chaos that are about to consume it. When the inner world feels out of control, clutter acts as a form of self-imposed insulation, providing a semblance of control. Also, clutter becomes a place to store the emotional baggage that people carry. No matter how insignificant an item may appear to be, it may be linked to a memory or moment tainted by the toxicity of the past. The cluttered area transforms into a metaphorical vault, holding not only physical things, but also fragments of the self that have been fractured and require delicate reconstruction. The inner turmoil that victims of narcissistic abuse go through is essentially portrayed in clutter. As a tangible cry for understanding and compassion, it captures the struggle to make sense of the outside world and the inner chaos. Beginning the process of decluttering is a deep act of reclaiming not only physical space, but also the very core of who you are. The manipulative tactics used by people who have narcissistic traits are known as narcissistic abuse, and it leaves scars that are deeper than the surface. It affects your identity, your sense of self-worth, and yes, even your living space, in addition to broken bones and visible bruises. A pervasive sense of entitlement, a lack of empathy, and a need for control over others are hallmarks of narcissistic abuse, a type of emotional and psychological mistreatment. Narcissistic abusers use a variety of techniques, including gaslighting, manipulation, and emotional coercion, to make their victims feel less capable and less autonomous in their relationships, whether they are family, romantic, or professional. Beyond the physical fights, narcissistic abuse has a long aftermath. Self-doubt, shame, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress are just some of the complex emotions that survivors frequently have to deal with. The victim is emotionally battered and left questioning their own sanity as a result of the abuser's constant need for dominance and manipulation. After narcissistic abuse, clutter is a powerful symbol of the internal turmoil that has occurred. As someone whose sense of self is constantly being attacked, the survivor may find comfort in the chaos around them. The clutter acts as a shield, protecting them from the painful truths of their past, while also reflecting the chaos within. A deep-seated fear of reprisal or judgment is another trait that narcissistic abusers frequently instill in the victim. This fear might show up as not wanting to throw away things, since each one could remind them of the abuse. The cluttered space turns into a fortress of memories, some of which are painful and some of which are comforting. It provides a real link to the past that the survivor may not want to sever. It's important to understand the dynamics of narcissistic abuse in order to see why clutter becomes more than just a mess. It becomes a silent, physical sign of the emotional wounds. Recognizing this connection invites a compassionate look into healing, allowing survivors to reclaim not only their physical space, but also their sense of self and agency. So why does clutter often follow people who have been the victims of narcissistic abuse? It's important to look into the complicated link between trauma and the mind's attempt to cope in order to understand this. Think of clutter as a shield that we put up unconsciously to protect ourselves from the memories, pain, and chaos that life throws at us. Our minds frequently use physical clutter as a coping mechanism when we feel unsafe and overwhelmed by the aftermath of narcissistic abuse. Dr. Sherry Borg-Carter, a psychologist and author, has done research that suggests that clutter can be a visual representation of the chaos that trauma survivors feel inside. She discusses the relationship between clutter and stress in her book, High Octane Women: How Superachievers Can Avoid Burnout, focusing on how a cluttered space can cause emotional fatigue and mental exhaustion. A cluttered home environment is also linked to higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, according to a study published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology by Saxby and Repetti. The act of decluttering can be a potent tool for regulating hormone levels and regaining a sense of calm for victims of narcissistic abuse. The body's fight or flight response is heavily influenced by cortisol, a hormone released by the adrenal glands in response to stress. Cortisol levels that are too high for a long time can be bad for your body and your mind. A study by Saxby and Repetti looked at how people's cortisol levels change when they are in different home environments. It was interesting what they found. Having a cluttered home was linked to higher cortisol levels. In essence, the chaotic surroundings appeared to be a constant source of stress or arousal, causing the body to be constantly on edge. Recognizing that our homes are extensions of our psychological and emotional well-being, rather than just physical space, is crucial to understanding this phenomenon. As a narcissistic abuse survivor, a cluttered space may mean more than just disorganization. It becomes a physical representation of the inner chaos, a reflection of the daily emotional stress. The constant presence of clutter seems to create a state of constant stress, releasing cortisol even when there are no immediate external threats. The emotional toll already incurred by traumatic experiences can be made worse by this persistent elevation of stress hormones, which can have a wide range of effects, from disturbed sleep patterns to impaired immune function. For those navigating the path to healing after narcissistic abuse, understanding this correlation is extremely helpful. It suggests that clearing out clutter can help you feel calm and in control of your stress hormones, in addition to its obvious organizational benefits. A person can actively improve their physical health and break free from the effects of trauma they've been through by turning their home into a sanctuary of order and simplicity. This study emphasizes the significance of the mind-body connection and the significant influence our environment can have on our health and recovery. Take a moment, those of you who are nodding your heads in agreement, realizing that your clutter is a reaction to something deeper than just a lack of organization. Take care of yourself. Realize that clutter is not a sign of failure, but a message that your mind needs care and attention. As someone who works with patients on a daily basis, I want you to know that small steps are fine. Decluttering your physical space and your mind is an important step in the healing process. Ask for help, whether it's from family, friends, or a mental health professional. You don't have to go this way by yourself. As you can see, realizing that clutter is a trauma response to narcissistic abuse is a very important first step towards healing. Acknowledging the pain, reclaiming your space, and ultimately regaining a sense of control over your life are the key components. Don't forget that reclaiming your narrative is more important than just tidying up. As you start this journey, remember that the clutter does not define you. The strength you show in facing it and getting rid of it does. Thanks for coming with me on this trip today. Please share this video with those who you think will benefit from it. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.